All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Dance Journeys podcast. It's our 10th episode already. And if there's somebody now listening who haven't been listening before, little opening. My name is Pirita. I'm a dance artist, originally from Finland, but based in Scotland in Edinburgh. And yeah, we've been having these little chats with these amazing women. It's already 10th. You're like the lucky number 10.
I know, I make it double figures. Here we go.
Yeah, but I'm really excited I think I'm saying this every time that I'm really excited to have this chat, but I think this one especially is a little bit a different chat that we're also going to have. We're going to have a topic about dyslexia and dance and what kind of how they affect and how we can notice it. I have really bad dyslexia, and yeah, I've been the being kind of dance has been helping me a lot on that way. But yeah, I'm excited to have that chat with now Jenny in the way as well. But I'm just quickly letting Jenny to introduce herself. So Jenny, tell us something about
Hi.
you. Where you from?
I'm Jenny and I'm from Edinburgh. And I don't know what else to say. I've been dancing with Pirita for a year and a half, almost 2 years, I think. Close to 2 years. And I've been doing the podcast, not podcast, the dance challenge for a year. And it's been great.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's coming into 1 year that you've been also doing now the program.
I can't
Amazing numbers that we have. We have 10. This is a 10th episode. We already
I
do this
know.
dancing 1 year. This is our like little celebration.
Yeah,
Good time. Good time.
it's an anniversary.
Yes, definitely. But so just to tell a little bit about yourself, what do you do kind of profession wise?
I am a primary school teacher. And I have been for 9, 10, almost 10 years. So yeah, it's been a long time, and yeah, it's great. It's challenging, particularly because I'm also dyslexic,
Mm.
so it makes it um, difficult sometimes with the paperwork and checking over things and
Mm.
always being on and not having time to think things through properly and plan things out all perfectly because there's 27 people challenging me to change my mind every 2 seconds. But yeah, it's great. That's my job and I love it.
Fantastic. Was that profession something that you always kind of when you were young, did you always wanted to be a teacher or was it something that it kind of pushed you in there?
No, I've wanted to be a teacher since I was 4. I watched Matilda when I was 4, and I saw Miss Honey, and I was like, I want to do that. That sounds like a good job. And yeah, I'm more like Miss Trunchbull than I am like Miss Honey, but I'll try.
Amazing. And yeah, and of course we are doing this live on the Facebook as well. So if there's people I can see joining us live. So anytime if you have any questions popping or any thoughts, you're welcome to put them on the chat. I will keep my eye on the chat as well. So yeah, excited. If you have any questions you want to ask as well from Jenny, I will definitely ask them. But now let's dive a little bit on. Been always kind of asking the same question about the how the dance history has kind of started because yeah, we're talking about our dance journeys. So was dancing something that you did when you were younger, or did you find kind of in the dancing when you were older? How was your background?
So I've been dancing since before I can remember. My mum was really keen for me to do dancing, so I started ballet dancing when I was 3 or 4, I think, before I started school. And I have really vivid memories of learning to do good toes, bad toes in ballet, and running around in beautiful skirts and pretending to be fairies and stuff. And I also did tap classes, and I loved them, but I wasn't very good at them. And my mum didn't want to pressure me into doing exams or anything, so I just moved up the grades as I memorized all the dances. So there was never any pressure or any stress related to dancing. It was just a way for me to have a bit of release and a bit of fun. And I did it until I was a teenager doing my exams, and I was kickboxing at the same time. and I was getting teased by the dancers for looking too much like a boxer and by the boxers for looking too much like a dancer. And I ended up um, stopping dancing to do more kickboxing. And I really missed it when I was in university and starting to go out into clubs and things. I was loving dancing. And when people stopped going clubbing and when I got a bit bored of clubbing, I felt like I really missed clubbing. But when I started doing your classes, I realized it wasn't clubbing and going out and partying that I missed. It was the dancing. And just having that back in my life recently has it's almost nostalgic. The freedom and the joy that it sparks in me. I genuinely find myself grinning ear to ear when I'm dancing because it just it's such a release for me, and a bit of perfectionist tendencies slides in every now and again, but most of the time it's just joy and escapism for me. I really love it.
Yeah, yeah, and there was a comment coming on the chat as well. Like, there's a comment of you started as young as I did. Yeah, yeah, it's the same. I started dancing when I was three, 4 as well. And yeah, it's so much of this conversation that we have had of people have done a little bit of dancing on childhood lives, and then it kind of dropped off on yeah, kind of teenage time. So it's a
Yeah.
shame. It's amazing that you're finding it found it back
Yeah.
and kept really now going with it. So
Yeah.
fantastic.
I love it. It's also been really interesting to start back again and realize how much of it is muscle memory. Like
Mm,
you'll do some turns and some steps and I'll go, "Oh, I know how to do this. I don't understand why I know how to do this, but my body seems to remember it."
mm,
And yeah, I've subliminally learned how to count and how to like
mm,
work out the steps in a dance and in the beat of a music without even realizing I've done it. So I think even learning it at such a young age has been so
yeah.
beneficial to parts of me learning, and I think it's a shame when people aren't able to do that when they're younger because everybody's got these talents that they learn when they're younger, and mine was dancing. Maybe
Mm,
not a talent, but it was something that I learned
yeah.
and it's really helped me.
Yeah, and you enjoyed of doing it. So yeah, it's coming there back.
Hmm.
Well, what did you notice of kind of starting back on dancing after having that break? What did you felt was the biggest kind of challenge or struggle that you faced of coming back in dancing?
um i think I think it was nerves that I wouldn't be good enough or that other people would judge me or um yeah, just self-esteem really, and going, can I really do this? Can I really try? Am I going to be not fit enough?
Mm,
Am I going to trip over my own feet? Are people going to be mean, like I shouldn't be there?
mm,
And none of those things happened, luckily. I
mm,
think it was a challenge, and it also came at a point where I was going through a lot of like self-discovery and self-growth, and this was one of the things that I challenged myself to do
mm,
was to start your classes.
mm,
And I started them in person just before lockdown,
mm,
and they saved my life during lockdown. They became my gravity during when everything else disappeared. And I
mm.
would get up and I would do your classes, and I just built my day, my routine around your classes, and it genuinely felt like I wasn't alone anymore, and it was really nice. I've said thank you to you before for that, but thank you.
You're welcome. It has, yeah, on this many of these conversations that we had and listening to people and still kind of going back on the lockdown memories and people reminding me of like, yeah, how much we did so much together from the start. And
Hmm.
as much as I'm honored to hear that it has helped as in you as well, but and so many other people, but it definitely was on this side as well. It helped me to continue and amazing that maybe that would needed that little notch for all of us and having dance now even more in your life because I think that also maybe perhaps gave the notch of starting to dance more.
Yeah, yeah, it was it before I was just like, "Oh, I'll go to a class once a week and I'll do it and I'll not think about it anymore." And then because of lockdown, I was literally dancing pretty much every day, at least once a day. And then you started talking about this course and I was a little bit like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that and that's a lot of pressure and I've never done anything where
Mm,
I've needed to have like a commitment to what I'm doing before,
mm,
because I I didn't that wasn't part of my dancing when I was a little kid. And
mm,
now I feel like I've sort of leveled up in my commitment to myself.
mm.
And I'm quite proud of it. And I've never felt like I had like a hobby that I was committed to before. And now this feels like it's sort of snuck into the DNA of my personality, I think.
Right.
And I get teased for being too dancey and too singy sometimes. And now that I actually dance, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm too dancey. Let me dance then.
Yes. Yeah, it's just embracing that personality, I think,
Yeah.
on so much of I feel like people have that little like, oh, I like dancing, but yeah, we just need to embrace it
Yeah,
and
particularly the Britishness of me. I'm like, oh no, nobody can look at me. But when I'm alone in my flat, I'm like, yeah, I can do it.
good, good. And well, yeah, and of course you have done and now are also involved for the performance challenge, which is also little bit a different challenge of trying out of performance and doing it a little bit in front of camera and yeah, exploring all of that aspect. But before kind of diving into that one, what do you think so far of now? Of course, if you think about in that scale of getting dance back into your life, you're already a little bit open about this. But if you could say on just few lines, what is the best thing now that you have made this commitment to really get dance as a hobby, but physically, mentally, what do you think has been the best thing?
I think that it's definitely boosted my self-esteem. And I think it's made me cherish my body a little bit more and not punish it for things it can't do, and
Mm,
more appreciate what it can do. And yeah, I think I like my body a little bit more, and I feel more comfortable in my own skin. Um, and yeah, I can't really, I don't know, I can't impress that like enough. Like, I think it's really important to try and love the skin you're in while you're in it, and like not worry about what you used to look like or what you're going to look like, and just go, this is who I am now, and this is what I can do now,
yeah,
and just try and accept that and try your best within it.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that it's brought
Mm,
me, and trust in myself, and quite a lot of pride that I have kept this going. And even though some weeks I've struggled,
mm,
I've
mm.
still managed to keep going and keep trying and keep showing up for myself, because I'm not doing this for anybody else. It's just for me, and I like that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done that before.
yeah, yeah. And that's also a huge thing what you're saying of yeah, being all right and being okay with your own skin and continuing even that is not always easy. It's never it would if it's always going to be fun and easy, there's not anything to learn because we learn on those moments when it get challenging. So, but wow, I'm just here like just nodding. It's like wow, those are huge things that you're really saying, and I think of so much of these conversations that I'm having. Of course, I have a lot of females because mostly who I work with, all of the students are female. We rarely have few men in the classes, but yeah, and I'm a female, so my perspective and my experiences comes as a female perspective. So, and I know that is so much of social media and everywhere we get so much pressure on how we look, how we should be doing things, and also then thinking of dance that you've done dancing when you were younger, that's already building yourself also that image of how you should be feeling or how this should be going. So just saying that you feel okay and feeling that self-esteem has risen in there and you have had that big growth in a way, and so that's a huge thing. Wow. And just still in thinking of that, is it a 1 year or 2 year, but that's still a kind of short time in a way that
Mhm.
these bigger things to happen. So wow, amazing. And yeah, we're gonna be excited to see how we're gonna feel then after the whole performance challenge. But how you doing so far? If you few lines opening of how it has been.
Um, it's been good. It's been challenging. I think I'm nervous of it, and but excited at the same time. And I think there's you're making me realize sometimes I am a bit of a control freak, even though I might not think I am. And I need to trust the process and trust that you are my teacher and you will lead me where I need to go. I am not the teacher. You are, and I will try my best to not be like, "What are we doing? Why are we doing Why are we doing this?" No, I need to know the answers. And yeah, just enjoy the process. And I really liked how I was sort of aware of you working out what the choreography was going to be like from our ideas. And I think that was an interesting thing to like experience you doing. I think it'd be really cool to be in on the choreography
Mm.
process and how that comes about. And
Mm.
I think we got a little glimpse of that when we were doing that, and that was really cool. Particularly that it came from poetry and came from like our emotions and things. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's been, again, like I've said to you guys, each of these performance challenges that I am throwing this coaching groups, each of them I'm also taking a challenge so myself. So as much as I'm pushing you guys, I'm pushing myself to step out from my comfort zone. So yeah, doing it on with people and with filming it and choreographing it that I don't even see all of them physically is a totally different way of working and trying to be like behind behind the other screen, and then there's a one screen, so I feel like there's a many screens between. It is a challenge, but excited to see what's going to be happening in the end and how you guys will be feeling after it. But now I'm more thinking of also our kind of the you said like you have dyslexia. I have dyslexia. When did your dyslexia was diagnosed?
Mine was diagnosed really early, because I have a brother who's a lot older than me who is also dyslexic, but wasn't diagnosed until he was much older than me, and he really struggled, and it really had a hugely negative impact on his education. And because of his struggles, my mum got me tested really quickly, and so I was diagnosed when well, you can't really diagnose dyslexia, that's not a thing, but I was told I had dyslexia and suffered with dyslexia when I was in primary two, so
Mm.
I was really young. And that was before I learned to have any shame or embarrassment about it. I was like, oh, cool, okay.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I just learned that it was okay, and there were a lot of people who misunderstood it and thought that I was stupid, and it's taken me a while to overcome that barrier because I've never believed I was stupid,
Mm.
but because of other people assuming things and misunderstanding and having bias against it, there's things that I wasn't given the opportunity to do because they assumed that I couldn't do it. And it's really frustrating because I know that I'm quite an intelligent person. I know that I've got skills and attributes that other people who don't have dyslexia don't have.
Mm.
And it's just trying to find that in yourself and find that in other people and
Mm.
let them know that it's not a disability.
Mm.
And I think that's something that people don't
Mm.
really understand. It's just a difference.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I always say diagnosed because I felt like for me it was so huge thing of getting that official paper out of it. So I felt like
Yeah.
you know, like
See?
diagnosed. It is true now. For
Yeah.
me, it was also really on a late time. I was going closer to 18 and doing kind of my last exams before I even got it. And
Hmm.
before always I have thought like I'm just stupid because I was also really hardcore study girl who was like I
Hmm.
put a lot of effort on my studies but it just didn't show on the numbers kind of what I got. So it's that
Yeah.
kind of feeling like you're never good enough.
Hmm.
And I
Very
started to feel like
demoralizing.
yeah, and it started to I've in a way I also think of now looking back, I think it also affected a lot on my own dancing. I know that like you guys know, I have told about a little bit my dance journey. It hasn't been easy, but I think a lot of that feeling that you're facing in the school that you're not good enough. If I definitely believe that it affected on my dancing and dance training in a way that well, am I just like not good enough this either. And
Mhm.
then if especially if you don't get positive feedback, it's just like, am I not good enough anything?
Yeah.
But how do you have face now? How do you think dyslexia is it affecting on your dancing? Do you think?
Well, yes, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about dyslexia and they think it just means that you're not good at spelling. And that's not what dyslexia is about. Is that it's an inherent difference in the way that you process information and your ability to memorize information that doesn't mean that much to you, particularly things that you have to learn by rote, like times tables, spelling patterns, and things that just you can't solidify with another fact. Like I always found learning my left and right impossible. And people thought I was so stupid because how can you not know your left from your right? But it's just not something that means anything to me, so it's not valid.
Yeah.
And I think that that in particular is quite a challenge when you're doing dancing, and like particularly during that lockdown where it's on a screen and you're saying, right, now you do it on your left side, and I'm saying, I don't know. I like, what do you mean? I can't see you and I don't know which one. And I really have to go, right, which one is my left and which one is my right? And I think that some people that's just easy, and it's
Mm-mm.
just an interesting way. I just wish I knew what it was like to not be dyslexic so that I could really understand what is dyslexia in me
Mm.
and what's just normally trying
Mm.
to learn choreography, you know?
Mm.
But yeah, learning the counts, learning the beats. But I also think that I'm much more of an auditory learner and a kinesthetic learner than um, any other kind. And so
Mm.
watching you do something and listening to the steps and the beat and the rhythm of the music really helps me learn. And I think that's a way that people um, teach people to learn
Mm. Mm.
things that have nothing to do with music. They embed music into it so that people with dyslexia understand it a little bit better, um, just to support them in their way of learning.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and it's really good that you open it up as well. That many people honestly really think that dyslexia is just that you writing your different own sentences and trying to people to second guess what you're really trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's still so often that I put again myself more out there and I'm putting the program and everything, and I get now and then I get comments of like, oh, there's that, yeah, what you really saying, what you and kind of people picking up on the things that you kind of writing wrong. Is it Finnish or in English? I think I get it both. But I just kind of one day, it's even way back, even with my own company, I decided a long time ago that I don't care. So
Hmm.
people who will start to pay attention about those little things that I have write it there wrong,
Hmm.
fine, but that's who I am. I'm not gonna try to hide it. If it's like totally different, like if it doesn't make sense the sentence, then I'm like, okay, I tried somebody else to read it
Yeah.
through first before I put it. But now and then when I see on the website or anywhere on my little mistakes that I've written, I'm like, that's all right. I'm gonna leave it because that's
Hmm.
me. That's me, and not
And
apologize.
anyone who would comment on it, I think is ignorant and pedantic because they're like, you you know what it means. You understand what the information is. So why correct? Why make that a thing?
Mm,
And it's just it's kind of cutting someone's legs off when they're trying their best to, to dance
yeah,
and be able to, particularly somebody who's bilingual,
yeah.
you you have to be impressed by those things that somebody's doing, and you need to be
Mm,
encouraging of that. And I think that's part of why I'm very honest and open about me having dyslexia, because I spell things wrong in the classroom and I go, I'm not sure how I spell that. I have to go and check that later. And I'll
mm,
write it up on the board and I'll say, I'll underline it and go, I can't remember if it's how many S's there are in that word, so I'll check it later. And it encourages the children to not be afraid to spell things wrong and not have the fear to write on paper. And I think anybody that is too critical of that and makes that the initial focus for something would
mm.
reduce someone's creativity in there. their comfort in doing
Yeah,
something like.
yeah, definitely. And how much that also then affects on dancing and kind of the learning side of dancing as well,
Yeah.
especially if you have this kind of experiences. And way back when I didn't know that do I have a dyslexia or not, but I started to realize that because I was all the time dancing and I was really focused with my dancing, putting things that I needed to remember with movement helped me
Hmm.
to remember things.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of built for myself a skill that's why I pick up even quicker different choreographers or different teachers choreograph because I built that habit of learning things from through the movement.
Hmm.
So even now and then I need to make a little movement of some things that not might be the necessary the things that I need to, like you said, is that kind of the second thing of really paying attention to,
Yeah.
making a little movement out of it. It helps me to remember it better.
Hmm. Sounds
And
like
I
you're a
think,
pure kinesthetic learner.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think that it's just becoming of the habit that I've built so many years. But it's the same thing of with kind of dancing and learning, which I'm interested to kind of hear as well. Of have you noticed in my teaching or some of the things that you even before you kind of knew that I have dyslexia, would you have guessed that I have dyslexia?
Oh, um, I don't know because obviously being a teacher, I know quite a lot about dyslexia because I have to I pick out people and I'm like, I think they might need extra support. I think they might be dyslexic. Let's
Mm,
assess them for it.
mm,
And so I know that dyslexia isn't just about what goes on the paper. It is about your spatial awareness. It is about your organizational skills. It is about your time management and your perception of the world around you. I've never sat, I've never looked at somebody outside of and like a teaching perspective and gone, yeah, I
mm,
think they're dyslexic.
mm,
Um, and so I never would have like looked at you in that frame. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Because I associate it a lot with work in your play. um, so I probably wouldn't have, but if you'd asked me,
mm,
I might have been able to because I think that somebody without dyslexia might be more focused on the counts and probably would be more fixated on getting it completely perfect, whereas you're more about the movement and the joy and the like the you're it's okay to make it different. It's okay to be yourself and have the joy in it. And I think that you and me teach in quite similar ways where I'm talking about don't worry about your spelling. Don't let
mm,
that stop your idea. Go for it. Whereas you're saying, don't worry about the counts. If you change your mind, if you do it a little bit differently from me, that's okay. And I
mm,
think that that acceptance of mistakes and that allowance for change
mm,
and comfortability with flaws comes from somebody who's had that struggle of I'm never going to be able to be flawless like you want me to be flawless. I'm
mm,
never going to be your idea of perfect, so I'll make my own idea of perfect. And
mm,
I think that strength of character and that strength of belief comes from uh, a, a real true desire to do it anyway. And I think that's something that's sucked out of a lot of people when they're young by people who don't understand struggle. And
mm,
I feel I sound like I'm blowing my horn and your horn at the same time, but I'm quite proud of the fact that I didn't let that stop me.
mm,
I
mm.
think that you should be proud of that too.
Yeah, definitely. I am, and I know that is so much like you said that it comes through of my work, how I believe, and that's why I think of so long time. I still have sometimes this battle with ballet, especially because that's like really structured, really rules, and you're
Hmm.
really like there's one way, and it's the same of writing a perfect sentence. It's like, is it going like, do you want to be in a book? I'm not writing anything of that it being a book because I want to keep it more open, and that's what interests me of that creative side of it. So I think of so long time when I have faced with ballet as well, and I think I had to go back and think like what is really in ballet that is like just getting me so frustrated all the time and getting me so uncomfortable that I'm not learning anything. And it became of this, I so much believe that it became of this thing from my dyslexia side, that one is just following the rules, forgetting for myself of like what the movement started to be. We have to have always the same arms, and it's so structured. Look that way. No, move your hand that way. No, you're doing it right. You're doing it wrong. And it put me so much back on the feelings of being dyslexic, even we didn't know that I had dyslexia. So associating those memories and experiences
Mm.
affected in a way on dancing as well.
Yeah.
But had to have my own way of reminding of being in the classes and doing ballet, and now and then it's like this is my way of doing it, and you take it or leave it.
Yep.
Well, now if you think on having dyslexia and dancing, do you think that you take that in concentration of when you kind of prepare your week? Do you think that you pay more attention, like, okay, I know that I needed this and this class a little bit more concentration, I'm going to do it different time? Or have you noticed any of this kind of things that it kind of affects your planning on your training?
Um, not really, because I struggle to plan my time anyway, and I'm a bit chaotic and a bit disorganized, and I can blame that on my dyslexia to a point, and then it's just my personality. Um, but I think having the regimented times to do things really helps me structure my time.
Mm,
And I like knowing that on a Thursday night I do this, and on a Sunday afternoon I do this. And it makes me feel safe and comfortable that I have that routine.
mm,
And yeah, I think it's more about me having a routine and knowing what is expected of me at what time.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I was just really curious to hear it because I know it for myself that I needed different things. If it has to be really something that I had to focus a lot, I give a lot for myself, then kind of slack in a way of other things that okay, now I need to really put my all energy this, like if it's learning some new choreograph or choreographing even more, I need to kind of like okay, now I'm gonna give a little bit different things for me to focus because I know that it takes so much of my concentration that I'm really tired after that. So
I think
mm,
I think you're more self-aware than I am. I think you're because I just chaotically just go with what I need to do, and I'm like, okay, let's do it now, let's do it now, and then reflecting back on it, I'm like, that's why I didn't have a very good time then, and I'm only just learning that I really do need to eat like a substantial lunch if I'm going to have dance classes in the evening, because I will not put as much effort in or not have as much energy for it. And
mm,
I think that's as far as my planning has gone. I'm not as self-aware as you are, as in the like I need to focus on this.
mm,
But I definitely do find the learning of the choreography quite a challenge, and I know that you've noticed that my movements are a lot smaller when I don't know the choreography as well, and I
mm,
think that's because I don't feel safe in it yet. And the
mm,
more I practice and the more it feels like muscle memory, and the more I don't have to think about which foot and which direction and is it left or is it right and which one's left again,
yeah.
then I don't have to worry, and it becomes more of a
Mm, 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 mm,
freeing thing.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. And don't worry, it's kind of I think so much of this that I've been it's just come through experience and just kind of doing a lot of little mistakes that's just making it harder and learning like okay, now I need to make it a difference so I know how to make this easier for me, and it just comes from experience. But it's the same with like you already described learning different choreographs. It just takes a little bit more time,
Mhm.
so reminding yourself of giving that time for yourself, and it's okay in a way. But then I think it's going to be interesting a year from now to have a discussion again and seeing how much you have maybe started to learn to let go even when you're not sure what's happening. But it's all about allowing yourself, reminding that
Mhm.
the brain needs a little bit more time, and that's all right as well.
Yeah, I'm on my way to trusting my body a little bit more. I'm on
Yeah,
my way.
Definitely. I have seen it. You're definitely on that way a lot. Well, we're almost kind of ending. If there's any last questions on the live as well, we're welcome to put the questions out there. But having now of little last words, what would you say to somebody who have been a little bit like a similar shoes, like maybe is now listening, has a little bit of similar journey? What would you say to those people to encourage them to continue?
Um, I think that it's really important to look back at the things that you loved when you were little, because they're the things that you're going to love when you're an adult, and they're going to be your escape from your adult worries. And if you're like me and your escape was dancing, you will love it when you're an adult, and you will find childlike joy in what you're doing. And I think it's important to find that as an adult, because we have so little time to play, and it's important for us to play.
Wow. Yes, that's a lovely sentence. Yeah, we all need to remember to play. Even when we're adults, we need to play and keep on doing that. Well, what do you feel now for yourself, for thinking of having discussion with yourself from a year from now? What do you hope to kind of achieve or kind of learned or experience from a year from now?
I hope that I am still discovering new things about my body. I hope I'm still challenging myself to step outside of my comfort zone and keep fit and healthy, and yeah, just taking time for myself and having a little bit of self-care in my day, because I'm bad for putting myself last, and this has been my challenge to put myself a little bit more front and center. And so I hope I'm still doing that. And yeah, I hope I'm still finding joy in my movement.
Wow, that's lovely. Yeah, finding joy from movement. Um, do you have any last questions? We don't have any questions there on the chat, but do you have any last thoughts or questions you would like to share now for in ending this 10th podcast?
Um, Now you've put me on the spot. I didn't think of a question. um, what would you say is the part of dancing, like teaching choreography and being a dancer, that is hardest because of your dyslexia? What is it that you find the most frustrating that you link with your dyslexia?
Mm. I definitely know that if the teacher is really teaching of like it's 5 and 6 and 7, 8 and 1 and 2 and 3, I'm lost. I see just numbers in my head and I get so out from my body. I just see numbers and then I'm like just like try to find the numbers with my body. And I think that's what I kind of realized. Uh, and I try to go a lot to do other people's classes as well and still push myself of that because I know it's my weakness point. But definitely that's the one of the things I know, and it comes so much from dyslexia side because immediately I just hear numbers, I'm just like I just don't have any idea of
Hmm.
the rhythm. So for me, if the teacher has more of style of like going ta ta boom ta boom ka ta, and then suddenly for me I don't see numbers, I start to see more movement, and then
Hmm.
I get it more embodied in myself. But yeah.
That's that's why you're always doing it with the sounds rather than the counts. And it's funny, every now and again you're like, right, let's do it by counts, and you're like, I did the counts wrong.
Yeah, and I have to like I it's every time when it's a new choreograph for myself. So that's more kind of the side I know as a dancer that if there's a choreographer, I need to like this. I need to a lot pay attention. Sometimes I will shut my ears of not listening, and I'm looking at their body language more, what they're doing. I don't listen to them at all.
Hmm.
And I know that's my way of learning that I know I'm gonna get most out of it.
Hmm.
As a teacher, it's the same. I with new choreographs, I'm really bad with counting, and some of the songs I have choreographed so much on the kind of the things on the sound, or how the singing is going, so that it's not going some of the particular counts.
Hmm.
So for me, it's
That's
more,
when I find it most easy.
yeah, it's just the melody and the body change and the flowiness of the movement that I feel, because that's where I learn the best. With new choreographs, if I teach it for you guys, I really struggle a lot with accounting. I'm like, and then I notice each time I'm changing them, which
Mhm.
is just like, okay, fine, it's just change again.
We'll just go for it.
Just go for it. Some of the choreographs, when I have teach them longer and longer and longer, it comes more easier than to count them. And I just think it's just because when I have more repetition for them to teach it, I can see how it starts to kind of define the counts the right way.
That's the dyslexia. That is 100% the dyslexia. It's so interesting. And I think it would be so interesting to learn like what different students' uh, learning style is, and see how they would, like, what their way of learning would be, their
Yeah,
easiest way. Because I think a lot of your students will either be auditory, kinesthetic, or visual, and
yeah,
see which one.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. And but it's really interesting. But also with I so much I'm trying more, and this is why sometimes if I have really beginners, I'm more knackered. I'm more knackered with teaching beginners because I'm thinking so much about those counts. and
Like, yeah.
and it's a lot of, and when I have to use a lot of my memory and kind of being that focus point, I get so easily tired.
Mhm.
But when it's more of the melody and the movement, I can do that for a really long time. It doesn't get tired. So it's one of the things I also have noticed when I now pick work, or when I choose to kind of organize stuff. I notice how to put them together, how much they're gonna take, and how they're gonna take my brain in a way of how much I need energy. But yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, and for so long time I was really scared of kind of talking about it as well a lot, because I still felt like it's something to be shame about. So I kind of started, I think the first time it's already 8 years ago when I started more talking about it. But definitely after that started to talk about it more, I started to pay more attention how much dyslexia is really affecting me as a mover and in this profession. And now more paying attention for you guys as well is really interesting. And yeah, I really have enjoyed this chat with you. Thank
Me
you so
too.
much for sharing your journey and everything you've experienced. We've really been, yeah, this is privilege to hear all of this and your thoughts. And I really hope, like, the number one thing I'm doing this podcast is that I hope that inspires others. And if there's somebody else now out there listening to this and feeling inspired and wanting to go for dance or anything, just, yeah, we would encourage them, right, Jenny?
100%. Do it. Don't worry about the counts.
Yes.
Just dance, just move. It's fine.
Yes, don't worry about the counts. And if you feel like that's also that when you go to classes, like, you get frustrated with counts, try to find a teacher who doesn't necessarily then teach through the counts. There's so many lovely different teachers. We all are different. We all have a different teaching styles, and that's the beauty. As much as having different dance styles there to learn. So we want to thank everybody who joined us live, and thank you for listening. And thank you, Jenny, for being my 10th podcast guest. I'm super excited to see where your journey will go from there. And yeah, having excited. I have planned that from year from now. I'm gonna somehow like have this reunion. We're gonna have everybody from the podcast and gonna see what has happened, so we can take back what's been going on.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah. So we're gonna wish everybody amazing end of the day wherever you are there listening to this. And yeah, going back on December on the next one. So yeah, once a month I've been doing this. So till the next one. But thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will see with everybody soon, hopefully. Thank you.